Tonight on Friday Night Fright Night, we're spinning a web of fear.
Tiny legs, 8 eyes, and one big nightmare crawling through small town America.
This week we're talking about Arachnophobia, the 1990 horror comedy that made everyone check their shoes twice. Just stick around, we're going to roll the intro and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Friday Night Fright Night. I'm GC from Face the Movies.
And I'm Lee from Cinema Whiplash. Tonight, we're tackling one of the creepiest creature feature horror comedies ever made, Arachnophobia.
It's part Spielberg, part Sam Raimi, and all paranoia. We'll talk about how this film balanced scares and laughs, why it still holds up, and why spiders were never the same after 1990s. Now, obviously, as usual, we're going to give you a little spoiler disclaimer. If you haven't seen the film, for the next few minutes, I would say for the next 10 minutes or so, we are going to be spoiler free, but then we're going to get in there, do the deep dive, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and once the spiders start crawling, you'll know it's time for spoiler time.
Absolutely. Now, let's go ahead and give you guys a little film synopsis, just in case. I mean, it's been what 20, 25?
No, 30, 35.
35 years. God, I feel old.
Yeah.
well, yeah, it's been 35 years since this movie came out. So if you're a little rusty, don't worry, guys, we got you covered. Now, the film synopsis starts as follows: a deadly species of spider from Venezuela makes its way to a small town in California, where it breeds and spreads terror. When a local doctor suspects the outbreak, he has to overcome his own fear of spiders to save the town before it's overrun. Now, dude, oh my God, what a gem of a film. I'm so excited to be doing this episode with you today, man.
Yeah, we're due for another horror comedy. I think we hadn't done one since Idle Hands, maybe. So it's definitely time.
I think so. Yeah, no, wait, wasn't it? Not just Idle Hands.
Slither.
There you go. I was thinking, I was like, I know it starts with an S. I wanted to say Shudder, but it's not it. Slither. Yeah, dude. I mean, you know what? It's great to kind of switch it. We'll have like a serious one. We'll have a real dark one. We'll have a horror comedy, and I think it's great for everybody.
Yeah, it's spooky season. It's fun to throw around, go get into the fun horror, the comedy. You know, of course we did Fright Night, which comes with the podcast name, which also has comedy in it. So we've been mixing it up. I think we're enjoying doing a little bit of both each time.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Now let's jump into our little ritual of our icebreakers. Do you want to take the fun one first or the serious?
I'll give you the fun one first. So I'll read it to you, and then you give me the serious one first.
Let's
So,
do it.
if you woke up and found a spider on your chest, what is your first move? To panic and stay still like the guy in this movie, or to just flick it? I don't know. You tell me.
Dude, honestly, it's already happened to me before. And I'll tell you right off the bat, like, I mean, I don't know if anybody listening or watching knows, but I'm kind of a little bit outside the outskirts of town. So this guy is very relatable to me. Like this movie, their living conditions is pretty much what I'm going through right now. So I've already encountered a few like big ass spiders, like the size of my fist out here. And the reaction has been to just either fling them off or go to the opposite direction. So I think if to answer the question, if I woke up and I had one on me, I'd most likely just probably like punch it in one of its eyes and just like freaking throw it across the room. But what about you, man?
Man, if this guy just comes out for those watching and it just lands on my face,
Oh,
I think I would just freeze, man. But yeah, I haven't had that happen to me. But you know, where I live, there's a trillion mosquitoes and a shitload of lizards, but you do have little spiders here and there. But I've seen them, and I've taken care of a few. But yeah, I think yeah, my reaction would be just to like, if it's on my shirt, just push my shirt out and hope that it flies off, and then kill it when it's on the ground. If it's a big one like that, I might freeze. So it might be 50-50. Well, I don't know. I hope I don't have to give you a true life answer anytime soon.
Dude, I'll tell you this, man. You're safe from spiders when there's like a ton of bugs throughout. Like if you're seeing like in this film, obviously, if when you don't start seeing or hearing any crickets or any mosquitoes or anything, that's when you know you're in danger. But
Yeah.
dude, that spider. So for whoever's listening, and this is why one of the incentives is to kind of check out these videos because we try to have a lot of fun with these. And we have props sometimes and all that good stuff. But Lee was kind of showing off these like fake spiders that literally are all, you could say they're almost replicas to kind of the queen and king spiders from the film. Because dude, that thing is huge, man. It's like when you put it near your face, it was
Yeah.
like, dude,
It's like this.
oh, you'd be a goner, man. That's it. You're done,
It's like a
dude.
tarantula, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. No, dude, and I've gone to like these exotic wildlife places where they've had tarantulas that you could actually hold. And I
Mhm.
remember having to sign a waiver because the one that I was holding still had like the fangs and venom and everything. But and I have a picture somewhere, dude. I'll have to find it and send to you. But that thing was literally the size of my hand. Like it was
Yeah.
insane, dude. I was like, man, if this thing bites me, that's it. I'm a goner.
Oh man. Yeah, I've held snakes and stuff, but I can't. I don't think I could do a tarantula. No,
Dude, it
it's
feels
too
weird,
creepy.
man. And oh, but dude, all right. Well, so it's safe to say that for the most part, I think our reactions would be to get it off of us and try to survive. Now,
Yeah.
let's jump into the serious one.
Mhm.
Why do you think spider-based horror hits harder than other creature features?
I think most people, obviously not everybody, have this fear of spiders. You see it all the time on
Yeah.
social media when people post stuff, especially in Australia where there's spiders everywhere and there's big spiders, and people are just like making memes about just burning the house down if they see one or something. So I think that's what's scary. I think everyone has that well, not everyone, like I said, but most people have that fear of spiders, the arachnophobia, because they're just creepy looking. They got all the legs and the eyes, and they're, I mean, they, the webs are beautiful and things like that. But yeah, I think that's what makes them scary, especially they've done movies where they make like eight-legged freaks where they make them huge, and to me that kind of takes away from it. I think the real scary ones are the, like, tarantula ones and like real life ones that can really, and there's a fear of being bitten and dying from these creatures is pretty scary. What about you?
Dude, I mean, I agree, man. I mean, where I'm living now, there's black widows all around. I've yet to come across one. I think I saw one the other day, but I haven't fully like just stared at one and been like, holy shit. But I've seen at least, not without exaggeration, maybe like 12 different species of spiders since I've been here. It hasn't even been a year. And every time I go outside, somehow I'm finding a different species. And then the crazy thing is that I have this like metal shed in my yard that my neighbor hooked it up with because she was getting rid of it. And I was like, oh, I'll take it off your hands. I could use a little extra storage. And every time I go in there, like I see all these spider webs and I'm in there having to get rid of them. And for the most part, I mean, granted, they're not really like bothering me or anything. So the ones that are kind of on the side minding their own business, I leave alone because they are good for the environment to have. Obviously, they get rid of mosquitoes and all that stuff. And again,
Yeah.
if they're not messing with me, like I'm not here trying to hurt them or anything. But dude, every time I go in there, it's like I'll see like three or four different species, and they're all near each other, and which I find weird because in the movie they talked about how normally like they're cannibals, right? So they eat each other and stuff. So they're like lone like creatures, but that hasn't been the case, man. Like I'm telling you, like they're all just hanging out and just shooting the shit, and like I'm seeing like the little egg sacs and everything, and oh my god, dude, it's so freaking uncomfortable. But to answer the question, yeah, it's definitely the creepiest out of all the creature features, just because I mean, dude, they have a bunch of eyes. They have like the little hairs on their legs. And it's true, like being bitten by one, that's like a big fear. You get bitten, you end up dying and stuff. I mean, I don't know how people in Australia do it, man. Like those things are, have you seen those videos of those
Yeah.
like those freaking spiders the size of a basketball? Like it's crazy, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Very scary. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure, like anywhere else you get used to where you live and you get used to the things. And I'm sure there's people that are, even though they don't bother you when you first see a bunch of lizards and stuff, I'm so used to, they walk by when you go running or walking, they just fly by you, like run real fast in front of you, and you're used to it. But yeah, I'm sure it takes a while to get used to. But let's get into the cast. This is
Yeah.
a pretty, I really enjoy this cast. It's not like super well knowns, but all very good actors. You got Jeff Daniels, which doesn't really come into about minute 18, I think, of the movie, because this movie does have a pretty big or a pretty long intro, which I think is a lot of fun. It doesn't feel long, but it takes about 15, 16 minutes where you get that introduction. So you got Jeff Daniels. Most people know him from Dumb and Dumber. That's where he blew up in this comedies. He's done a ton of shows. He's been in a lot of movies like Speed and The Squid and the Whale. You got John Goodman. He's kind of like the comedy relief of the movie. He plays Dilbert McClintock, and he's known for the show Roseanne, The Big Lebowski. He's 10 Cloverfield Lane and just countless others. He's been in so many movies. You got Julian Sands, and she is
No, that's he.
Oh, I'm sorry, Julian Sands, right? Sorry.
No worries.
He's the Dr. James, and he's one of the he's like the guy that's like the expert in the spiders in the movie, and he's mostly known for the Warlock movies, and he's also in a movie called A Room with a View, which I've personally never seen. And his story is a little sad in real life. I know he passed away a few years ago. I think he went hiking or something and got lost, and
Dude.
they didn't find his body for like 5 months. I actually while I was researching the movie, I found out, which was pretty sad.
Dude, you know what's
Uh,
crazy? It's that in this film, he's like this
yeah,
adventure guy where he's out hiking and finding these exotic spiders and stuff. And then that kind of happens in real life, but obviously subtracting the spiders. But it's really sad, man. Like it sucks. He was such a good actor.
yeah, really good in this role. Next we have Harley Kozak, and she plays Molly Jennings. She's married to Jeff Daniels, Dr. Ross. She's known for she came out in When Harry Met Sally and the movie Parenthood, not the show. We got Stuart Pankin. He's kind of like a little bit not a comic relief, but he plays it a little goofy. He's the sheriff. He's Sheriff Lloyd. You might remember him from Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. Not necessarily the News is another one that haven't heard of. And you got Henry Jones as Dr. Sam Metcalf. This guy in the movie, man, what a pain. To
Oh,
what he
dude.
does to Jeff Daniels, we'll talk about it. But he's an old school actor, been in Vertigo, Albert Hitchcock's movie, Support Your Local Sheriff, another movie. And I also want to mention about Carver. She plays Margaret, and I want to mention her because she's one of my favorite characters in the movie. And she doesn't come out that much, but I like her character. She's very welcoming to Dr. Ross in the town. So that
Dude.
pretty much rounds up the cast for the most part.
Oh no, dude, I loved her. She was one of my favorites too. She was so welcoming. She reminded my neighbor, um, it reminded me, it's like her replica, dude. At least personality wise. Like I remember when I moved here and my neighbor, her house had kind of like not fully burned down, but it was like a candle fire. So they pretty much needed to tear it down so she could rebuild the house. And I remember when she came and she was like with the inspectors and the whole thing. But she was like, she came, knocked on the door, introduced herself. Super awesome. Gave me that chat that I was mentioning, and
Mm.
it was like exactly like the character in the movie. And then there was one more that we missed, which also plays, and then in the damn it, what was that movie with not Billy Madison, the golf one. You know which one I'm talking about with Adam Sandler?
Happy Gilmore?
Happy Gilmore, the actress, she plays the mom of Happy Gilmore, and she was the wife of
Oh yeah,
Dr. Sam. She has a very small role in this. Like she only says a handful of words, and but yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool to see her in this one.
yeah. She is, and she's married to the doctor, like you said. Yeah, yeah. She has a small role in it, but yeah, I recognized her too, and it's always good to see her. And but yeah, let's get into the discussion so we can get into the movie because there's some fun stuff to talk about.
Oh, dude,
So
this film's incredible, man. Like, yeah, there's a lot that went into it. Definitely one of those like 1990 pre CGI type
yeah,
situations. It's safe to say that this film is CGI free completely. It's all old school animatronics, real spiders and all that.
yeah. You would. I was watching it and I was thinking that too because I was like, there's we're gonna get into the spoilers now. Little by little. So just so you know, but just not to jump right to the end right away. But there's a lot of spiders that come out at the end of this movie, and I was thinking when you're seeing so many spiders in the house nowadays, it's easy, boom, CGI. They do a bunch of spiders everywhere, no problem. This took a lot of work. They had to use real spiders all the time. Let them out. I saw these little featurettes that came with the Blu-ray that shows a little bit of that. And yeah, it's just it took a lot of work, but it just they're always gonna look real. It's always gonna look good. This isn't like a huge budget movie, but it had a decent budget. But nowadays, you could probably make this movie with half that budget from 90, just because you would do the CGI spiders, and it just wouldn't look as good as it does from a movie from 1990.
Dude, I mean, they used over 300 spiders. I mean, so just imagine, like, the obviously the giant one was the only one that was like a mechanical
Yeah.
type spider, but which was created by Chris Wallace Inc., who also worked on The Fly, which is really cool. But besides the giant spider, everything else, dude, like the iconic scene when they come out of the sink, that was all real.
Hmm.
Like, dude, it's incredible what they were able to pull off. I mean, there's scenes that we're gonna talk about in the film where, as like, if I was in the actor's shoes and I was surrounded by that many spiders, I'd be like, "Fuck," I'd be pretty I'd be pretty uncomfortable, man. I mean, like, I don't
Yeah.
I obviously, I don't think these were poisonous just because I know it says Avondale spiders from New Zealand. So I'm assuming they wouldn't pick poisonous ones for, like,
Hmm.
especially over 300 of them. But it's so cool, dude. I mean, but yeah, let's jump into the tone of this film. Um, now to you, what makes Arachnophobia's tone work? Like horror first or more of a comedy first?
With what usually works when you do these movies, right, to me, is when you combine them in a good way.
Yeah,
This movie always feels, and even in the intro, this movie starts in Venezuela, where we have this specialist getting the spiders, and we see this opening scene of this guy that takes pictures, and he gets bit by this big spider, and that's how it gets to this town. They put him in a coffin, the spider sneaks in, and it goes, and all that's because of the reason I mentioned the intro of the movie is because that whole 15 minutes of it, it's played straight. There's no comedy. Maybe a little bit when the guy falls a couple of times, this and that, but for the most part, it plays straight. And then once you get to the small town, then you have these characters. You're introduced to the sheriff. Later on, we see John Goodman's character, and that's where more of the comedy comes in. So I think it's balanced really well. I think for me, I just couldn't pick one because when I think about it, it's kind of like it's combined so well that I wouldn't know which one to choose. I think it does it very well as a mix. If I had to pick, I guess horror first, just because of the scare of the spider.
yeah.
But overall, I think they pulled it off really well, combining it. What do you feel?
Dude, I have to agree, man. Like this one, which is no surprise. We usually, for the most part, always agree with this stuff. But I think that for a creature feature, for the most part, we know that creature features a lot of time could be a little zanky and like pretty funny and cheesy. But with this, dude, the balance is just, it's a perfect recipe for how creature features should be, where it starts off serious, right? Gets you really sucked in. You're like, holy shit, like this is a story, and then it introduces Jeff Daniels, where he's just like right off the bat, like the way they introduced him. First of all, I thought the way that the camera angle and everything when you see the bird hit the ground,
Yeah.
because there's a scene, obviously, like Lee was explaining, where this spider kind of hitches a ride in the coffin. It escapes the coffin. It's like going around through town, and all of a sudden this like crow comes in, picks it up, flies over to Jeff Daniels' character, Dr. Ross's house. It bites the bird, it falls to the ground, and as soon as it hits the ground, like the camera kind of pans into Dr. Ross's car pulling in and introduces them. And right off the bat, it's like this, obviously Jeff Daniels, very charming guy, and he just immediately just camera pans in, introduces them. But yeah, dude, it was, I think that intro for the movie was just amazing. It was beautiful, like the way the helicopters flying around,
Oh yeah.
showing the rainforest and all that stuff. I also liked, and this is a movie that you could tell went a lot of love into it, because the amount of detail that went into, obviously, executive producer Steven Spielberg and all that good stuff. But dude, it just, even the photographer that you were mentioning, the one that dies in the beginning, um, the way that when he's taking pictures of the spiders, he uses this light meter, this device that usually people that shoot film, because now with digital cameras it has it built in. But when he sees the spider, he puts the light meter in front of it to get the proper settings so he could take the pictures. I rarely ever see that in movies, like where somebody's shooting, like using a film camera, old school style, and they actually take like the light meter. they dude, it's like look back at movies from the 90s, you'll rarely ever see that. And the fact that he did that, I appreciate it so much because I shoot photography and I use a lot of film cameras. And dude, it was just an incredible experience. They used an actual camera with an actual brand on it instead of some kind of blank one. Um, but it was incredible. A perfect blend, perfect start to the movie and tone and everything. So I thought it was great.
Yeah, no, the Venezuela shooting in the beginning and the fact that they really went there. This movie was
Yeah.
shot just for that in Venezuela, and then they switched to California for after the opening sequence. And like you said, man, those I love the helicopter shots of the opening sequence. And you obviously have to have two helicopters, one shooting the other helicopter, and all the angles and how they really captured everything in that part of the Venezuela, which is beautiful. It's reminds me of the movie Up where they get there at the end. It's really incredible, man. They did the work. You could tell, and which leads to the next question. And I'll ask you first. How
Yeah.
does Frank Marshall's direction compare to Spielberg's influence? Having for those who don't know, before you answer, Frank Marshall has produced a lot of Spielberg movies. He produces with Kathleen Kennedy, which runs Lucasfilm now, and he's produced in the Indiana Jones movies, Jurassic Park, countless movies. He's done stuff with M. Night Shyamalan in the beginning, The Sixth Sense, all that stuff. So Frank Marshall's like a top producer in Hollywood, and this is the his director debut, and I think the only movie he directed. I might be wrong about that. But how do you think the influence of always being around these incredible directors, especially Spielberg, influences directing in this movie?
Oh, dude, it was all there, the influence. Honestly, I would have thought this was a Spielberg film just because for a creature feature, like how cinematic and beautiful it was. I remember even that intro, the first 15, 18 minutes or so, I was thinking to myself, I was like, damn, this Blu-ray looks incredible. Like it was so well lit. Like it was a little dark in the beginning, but obviously, they're out there in the rainforest and stuff. There's certain moments where the sun doesn't go through, the denseness. But it was so beautiful, dude. The skin tones, like everything was just very vivid. I mean, that epic scene in the beginning where they're in the middle of the rainforest and they start using that like fog, that poison to
Hmm.
cat and all the animals, not all animals, but like all the critters and all that, they start dropping into these little nets. That was so cinematic and it was just incredible, man. It definitely felt like a big budget film. The camera work was very Spielberg. All the different characters that were in this film, I mean, each person definitely had their own personality. You wouldn't find a character that was replicated in there. Each person was totally different. There was a lot of even the jokes that went on into the film were so subtle and they were good. Like they weren't like slapstick kind of like dumb type of situation. Like they were generally a lot of them were intellectual jokes that you would have to like really watch and stuff. And it was funny, man. Like it was a great influence. I could definitely see that. I think Frank he really sat there and just harnessed Spielberg's brain. He was like, dude, this I'm gonna make you proud. So I think it was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah, same. I feel like the influence is there, especially in the Angel Falls. They call it Angel Falls in English in Venezuela, where they shot that opening sequence. To me, also felt, and this is before Jurassic Park, but I got like this Jurassic Park feel to it, that you got in that first Jurassic Park. Which like I said, it's funny because this movie came out 3 years before Jurassic Park, but you could tell that he had that style. He got a lot of Indiana Jones type of thing in there in the beginning, especially when Indy in the first few movies where he's like in the jungle looking for stuff, like you have that, the interpreters and all that stuff is very reminiscent in the beginning of this movie. So yeah, especially in that opening sequence. And this movie had a 22 million budget, so it wasn't like a big budget movie even for 1990. Obviously 22 million went a longer way then than now, but it's still not a big budget, and I think a lot of it went to that first 18 minutes, because then you shoot in a small town, you already got your actors, and everything gets a little bit more toned down. But even in the small towns, the way he shot the houses, the
Yeah.
production design, some of these houses looked like a Barbie home, like the one where there's this couple that watches Jeopardy and stuff. If you their the front of their house looked like a Barbie dollhouse. I thought it was fake for a minute. I thought it was a miniature. I was like, is that a real house or is this a miniature? Like, it was very well shot by him. I'm really surprised. I really should have checked, double checked. I don't think he's directed, and I think maybe his producing is more his thing, more what he likes to do. But I'm surprised he didn't do more because I thought he did a phenomenal job with this feature.
Dude, and I'm actually I'm looking into it right now, just to see if there's any other director.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously he loves to produce and he has his partner, which I think he's married to Kathleen Kennedy. And she went on to do her own thing with Star Wars now, but she was producing with him all the time. And they still did, like working with him like Shyamalan and all that stuff. So
Dude,
um mhm.
so I'm looking now, and dude, guess what, man? What other could from like we'll do a little trivia thing. So from 1995, there's another film that took place in the jungle that was, it was highly anticipated to come
Oh, did
out.
he direct Congo?
Yep,
Oh
he d-
shit. Okay.
dude, he directed Congo. He
That
did
makes
one
sense.
called Alive from 1993, and then he
Oh,
did,
okay.
yeah, and he did two
Yeah.
documentaries. He did the Bee Gees. It
Hmm.
says "How Can You Mend a Broken Heart" from 2020, and then Jazz Fest, a New Orleans story from 2022. Um,
Well, yeah, I mean, I grew up on all those movies. I mean, Congo and Alive. Alive is the one of the Uruguayan there wasn't a soccer team. I think it was a I forgot what sport that they remade that movie for Netflix now a couple years ago. It was really good too. They land in the middle of the Arctic or something, and they have to
oh
survive,
yeah,
and they start eating each other and stuff. It's pretty crazy. A true story. I didn't know he directed that, but okay, so he's got 3 films. Yeah,
and
I mean,
Eight Below from 2006. That's that Disney one with Paul Walker.
oh yeah, oh
Dude,
okay,
so you know what's
wow.
crazy about, do you see the pattern here so far? It looks like Frank is a big fan of like being out in nature and these type of almost like National Geographic type films, because you have Arachnophobia takes place in the jungle, Eight Below, which takes place somewhere like I think it was like either in Alaska or in Arctic or something. You have
Yeah, in the
Alive,
Arctic. Yeah, he's an
yeah,
Arctic
you
explorers. Yeah,
yeah, and then Alive, same thing. So he did two films in the snow and then
yeah,
two
and
films in
two
the
in the jungle.
jungle. That's but I mean, I'll tell you this, all four I remember seeing Alive. I own Congo the Vinegar Syndrome release, and I'll tell you this, I love all four of these films. Eight Below is a beautiful movie. Highly recommend it. So I mean, dude, he's hit 4 for 4. Like all these movies are fantastic.
Oh, well, I'm glad he did more, and we're finding out live here that
Yeah,
he did
man.
those movies, man. Because yeah, he really yeah. I hope it's been a bit. It's been like 20 years since he's directed, but hope he brings another one out. Yeah, he definitely seems to like the nature stuff, and but yeah, he's done pretty good. All his movies have been decently successful, so yeah, let's see if he does another one eventually. But I'm glad that he did.
Dude, this guy, it's like I'm like looking at his stuff and I'm probably fangirling a little bit, but dude, like some major productions that he's done. Obviously he talked about Indiana Jones, he's done Back to the Future, Born, a Born movie, the
Yeah, the
Jurassic
firstborn.
Park, yeah, the Jurassic Park franchises. But not only that, but he co-founded Amblin Entertainment with Steven Spielberg and Kathleen Kennedy. So
Yeah.
dude, this guy's been in like he's had a massive role in Hollywood.
Oh no, he's probably the most powerful producer next to Jerry Bruckheimer in Hollywood. Like,
oh yeah, I could.
like he's one of the like big greats for that. He's been doing it for so long. Yeah, he's up there. Him, Kathleen Kennedy, his wife, and Bruckheimer and those guys. Those have been around for a long back in the day. Joe Silver type of. They've been in the game for a long time. They're very experienced and just yeah, one of the best.
Dude, and it's crazy because Congo was supposed to be like the next Jurassic Park. So it's interesting that he helped produce the Jurassic Park movies, but then he tried to create his own with Congo. Unfortunately, I know that one wasn't didn't do so well in the box office, but still, it's cool. I mean, it's awesome that we're learning on this
Yeah.
episode about this guy. Um, but yeah, man,
Yeah, and I
that's
mean, and and getting back into it because I do want to get back to these comedy tones. What do
yeah.
you think about John Goodman's Exterminator as a comic relief? Do you think he was a comedy relief, or was he like secretly like maybe the MVP, the best part of the movie for you?
I think his comedy relief was very like it was good. It was subtle. I like that they didn't have him in there so much. but
Mhm.
he was just a guy. I mean, I've met people like this. That's the thing about John Goodman's character. For one, I mean, John Goodman's just fantastic. Like he always crushes it. But the character that he played, I know if a lot of people that have seen this film or watching it for the first time, they'll think to themselves like he's a little exaggerated. No. No, if you meet people that are like exterminators and stuff like that, you'll be surprised. Some people love their jobs and their hobbies so much, and this guy was just like he just loved what he did, and he was just one of those. He almost seemed like his character reminded me of like if you watch the show like Love on the Spectrum and stuff like that, like which I've met people on the spectrum where they don't obviously there's certain social cues that they won't be able to understand and read, and John Goodman's character for the most part is kind of like that in the film. He's like a mix where it's like this zany, obsessed like exterminator that he just loves what he does, but then he also gives you kind of like he's like a little bit on the spectrum and he just doesn't understand certain social cues. But overall, I wouldn't say the MVP. I think that obviously Jeff Daniels was the MVP of the film. Between his like fear of the spiders, his character arc from the beginning of the film where he gets paralyzed from tiny spider all the way obviously till we get to the end, but also his like his smart ass type character that every time he kind of said something, especially when he was talking about the one neighbor where he's talking to his wife, he's like, "Oh, I only have one patient," and he's like, "Well, you know, all we could hope for is for her to get plagued by she'd get ravaged by a bunch of diseases, you know, we
Yeah.
should be able to pay the bills pretty much." But yeah, I mean, I think he was really the MVP. But to answer that question, John Goodman's definitely great comedic relief, and it was just fun to have his character in there.
Yeah.
What'd you think, man?
Well, to me, he grew on me. In the beginning, I'm never a huge fan of when movies have these quirky, goofy music come out when these characters were like, we're already telling you this guy's gonna be funny because of the music change. I don't really
Yeah,
like his theme too much. That I actually really like the score for this movie, except for John Goodman's little theme that I think they only do it 2 or 3 times in it. When he comes along, it's like bang, bang, bang. Like it's kind of reminds me. It's not as bad, but of like Halloween 5 when they got those two goofy cops that every time they show up they do the worst music ever. I,
yeah.
I I don't know if you've seen 5 lately or if you're almost there, but you'll see. But yeah, this one I didn't like that too much, but other than that, in the beginning he came off as like I don't know if this fits into the movie's vibe. And then later on I started to like him. I started to think he was funny. Like he makes like people are like he makes obvious statements like, "Oh yeah, we know this." Like, or there's like, it's like, of course, if there's a spider web, there's gonna be spiders and little things like that, and how he gets excited to kill them and shoot them with his tank of the poison and all that stuff. But yeah, I think for the most part, about 70% of the stuff that with him I thought worked really well. As far as MVP, no, I don't think. I think for me, same thing, Jeff Daniels. And also, I really liked Mary Carver in this as Margaret, and she doesn't have that much, but I do like how welcoming she is. She's like, "Don't worry, I'll be your patient. Don't worry, I'll throw you a party so everyone can meet you." Because the big plot point in this movie is that Jeff Daniels leaves his whole life behind in San Francisco to move into the small town because he's going to become the main doctor for the small town. But when he gets there, the doctor that's supposed to retire says, "You know what? I'm not ready. If I
Yeah.
retire, I'm gonna die, so I'm not gonna do it." And Jeff Daniels like, "What the hell, man? Like, what am I gonna do now? I have." So then, Margaret comes to the rescue, and she's like, "Don't worry, I'll be your first patient, and where later on we'll throw you a party so you can get to know the town, and you'll get some more patients." And I really like that, the way that all that came together. So yeah, those are my two MVPs in the movie.
Dude, I love the fact that we have that scene in the film where she's kind of sitting there, and this is right before she gets bit by the spider. But she's kind of sitting there looking at her husband, her late husband's picture, and she's like, and right after the party, and she's sitting there getting ready, to go to bed and stuff, and she's just talking to the picture and saying, "Oh, you would have had too much punch and been the life of the party," and then kisses the photo and goes to turn off the light, and that obviously hits her demise. But
Yeah.
she just her character was just lovable in every single way. The actress just absolutely like crushed it. She was just she really, I'm telling you, she reminded me of my neighbor, and it was just so cool to see that. Like especially living like, dude. I mean, obviously we're South Florida boys. So we're used to the city. We're used to how people are. When you live in a big city, people could be pretty guarded, and you don't really have the southern hospitality. And moving to South Carolina, that like it definitely changed. It was a culture shock just because everybody's so nice and polite, and it's literally like that movie encompassed small town living perfectly. I know when you mentioned earlier about the house looking like a dollhouse, it's crazy because when I drive around, I see houses like that all the time, and I'm just thinking, I'm like, man, like these are all houses from like movies. Like this is crazy. It's like in South Florida, I never saw houses like that compared to here. But it's cool to see how people are in small towns, and you do have people like the local sheriff. You have the neighbors that are like that, very, they've never met you before, and they'll come across the street and just introduce themselves and be like, hey, if you need anything, I'm right across the street. I'm like, wow, people are, it's the opposite in South Florida. Over there, people are holding their purses or wallets. It's a crazy change, man. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there because I loved her character too.
Yeah.
Now, oh no, go ahead.
No, no, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah, it's definitely a culture shock change from the big city to a small town, which is the
Mhm.
movie. It kind of shows you that, and the San Francisco family coming into the small town and having to experience the changes.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that was us when obviously again it's like San Francisco, South Florida, and then moving to a small town. I definitely felt like Jeff Daniels in the beginning. I was like, wow, this is definitely gonna be different. Like only having one mall for like 100 miles, and having like only one Barnes and Noble from like 30, 40 minutes away, and getting used to that. So seeing him go through this like process of transitioning in this film, I was like, this dude was like I was seeing my life in front of me on the TV, especially with those damn spiders. But well, enough of that rambling on my end. Let's jump into which of the scenes got under your skin the most: the shower, the coffin, or the barn finale.
I'm gonna have to give it to the barn finale with a good honorable mention to the shower. I thought the shower scene was really cool, especially the way it just like crawls on her face and then it goes down.
Oh yeah.
It was pretty creepy. But the barn scene, because obviously it's a lot longer, and just the fight of him like landing into that barn after like couldn't get out, and his fear, him having to face his fears of the spiders, him the way he fights the spider, and he has a cellar where he's trying to do like a wine cellar, but the wood is rotting, so a lot of these things are going wrong for him. So he has all this wine that he never wants to drink because it's too expensive. But then we get to see the growth of his character, not only from his fear of spiders, but from realizing, what, that this life is short, and also, if this is gonna save me, he starts to like break bottles, and he throws it at the eggs and to try to catch it on fire. I love the finale when, I'm gonna give away the finale of, I think they called the main spider in the movie, they called him Big Bob, and he has this nail gun that he's using earlier in the movie, and at the end he just shoots it, and it hits Big Bob right into the eggs, and then it catches fire, and he dies. Then that's kind of how it ends. But yeah, I think that scene, like, just because it's longer and it was entertaining, it was well made, it didn't drag, was definitely my favorite with the shower scene. The coffin thing kind of happens pretty fast. There's not too much to it. I think the main part of that coffin scene is more like when he gets bit inside his little tent, and then it leads to that. So out of those three, I'm going the finale. What about you?
Dude, so I want to throw in there the not the shower scene, but at towards the end where him and his family were with Jeff Daniels' family, they're running through the house. They go upstairs to go in through that bathroom, and all the spiders are coming out of the sink. They started when he tries to go out the window and they start coming down, so they kind of trap him in that bathroom. I think for me that made my skin crawl the most because it was just nowhere, like he was just in that tiny bathroom completely surrounded. And I was like, dude, this is horrible. Obviously him fighting the boss spider at the end, that was cool. But dude, I wanted to mention because you said that like it's true, it's like where he's like preserving all these wines and stuff. And there's a scene where he gets like this wine rack falls on him and he's trapped for a little bit, right? For a few minutes. And he's like, that's when you were describing where he's like throwing the bottles at the spider. But he picks up that one bottle that throughout the
Oh yeah,
film, it was
the
like 100 and
Chatney,
the
Chatno,
Shad,
whatever it's called.
yeah, I think it was a Chardonnay or something. It was like 100 and something years old, and he grabs it and looks at it, and he's like, no, not this one. And it
Yeah.
was just, dude, I'm telling you, like Jeff Daniels, his comedy relief in this film was so subtle but in such a good way because it wasn't zany. It was just it reminded me a lot of Jason Bateman, like, but not as asshole-ish because you know how Jason Bateman is. His comedy is like
It's
smart
more
ass.
sarcastic too, yeah.
Yeah, but
Bateman, at
dude,
least.
I mean, like, dude, that was such a creepy scene. I mean, they were all horrible, especially that barn scene where what's his name with Dr. James, played by Julian Sands, towards the end when he goes into the farm and to
Yeah.
the farmhouse and he's looking for like like up there. He goes to the second floor and that boss spider gets him. Dude, I would have never in a million years gotten into a freaking building completely covered in spider webs. Like that's a no for
Yeah.
me, man. And
No, he's like,
that's
"Oh,
an
let me go check this out." And it's like,
yeah,
I was like, "Dude, get out of there! Wait for everyone to come. Wait for the exterminator to come, and just like take care of that, you know." And but I don't want to nitpick too much. But the only thing for me was that it was funny how you saw how at the end there, just Daniel walks in with these people, and his family's just hanging out in the living room, and there's nothing going on, no spiders, no, and all of a sudden, a million spiders start coming out. And it's a little nitpick, no big deal. But I just felt like, oh, come on! All of a sudden, they couldn't just get out right away. All of a sudden, all the spiders. But of course, it's a movie. I'm just being obviously, I'm being nitpicky, and it didn't bother me. I just thought it was kind of funny that there was no spiders for 1 second, and then he shows up, and they all start coming out and kind of making them. We got the grand finale, but no big
dude.
deal.
No, but what I did like is I felt like that scene itself was a little bit of comedy relief just because the way he enters with Dr. James's assistant and they're both just they walk in super slow and
Yeah.
it's like they're trying to avoid the like predator or something and just they're looking at the ceiling and stuff and they're not telling their family anything and the family's just sitting there kind of staring at them like what the fuck is wrong with them and but dude it's crazy that those were all spiders
Yeah.
like how insane it's that those were all that wasn't CGI. Like those were all legit spiders. And I'm wondering too, like I really hope that this movie gets like a boutique treatment because not only it's just such a phenomenal film, but I would love to see more interviews and kind of like an in-depth like look into the making of like a full
Yeah.
I mean, dude, even a little hour or two documentary on this because to deal with over 300 spiders I mean, I could only imagine dealing with like 10 or I mean, dealing with any animal in filming. I mean, we know the witch, for example, the goat, I mean, that he injured one of the main actors a few times and it was a pain in the ass to deal with. And we know throughout history and movies for the most part, animals could be a bit of a pain. And imagine spiders. They're not, they're just
Mhm.
freaking trying to like hide and be in the dark and um
Yeah. No, I mean
but
it holds up. I mean, like we already talked about this earlier. The modern CGI. I mean, if you even with a good budget, they're gonna look good and all, but it just doesn't feel the same. Like that it's CGI, even if it looks good.
yeah.
Um. So I do it holds up. It looks great. I mean, even this is something small, but I'm gonna for those watching, we have the
Yeah.
DVD, right? And just this cover art of the poster, if you look it up on IMDb or Google, um, it's really has a lot of detail, and I just love those the old school posters of people actually draw because that's a drawing. It's not a picture, and it's not photoshopped. It's I mean, it's somebody drew that. So I just love the drawings of the clouds, the house. It's a simple, very simplistic poster, but it's got the house, the town drawn in the bottom with the spider on the moon. It's beautiful, and I really miss those type of posters like they used to do with Indiana Jones. Talk about Frank Marshall, Indiana Jones, or like all those older movies like Star Wars and stuff like that. And that's also that adds to the old school way of doing it that I really enjoyed. Talk
Yeah.
about the modern CGI and all that.
Dude, it looks this it's funny. This cover reminds me of like the sky for Fright Night, like the colors and everything. Like it kind of
Yeah,
reminds me of it. But I love, dude, like you said, the simplicity. Like they could have put a shit ton of spiders on here. No, they just put that tiny spider with the little
yeah.
with the little title, obviously arachnophobia, and then 8 legs, 2 fangs, and attitude. Like, I mean, that right there, I'm like, okay, this is interesting.
It's
Do
a good
you ever
tagline.
yeah, dude, do you ever remember seeing the VHS for this in the video store?
Yeah, I do remember seeing the VHS and never picking it up for some reason. Always being intrigued by it, but this is a movie that first watched in my teen years, and it was probably on cable, and I never saw it again, even though I liked it, and I never owned it on DVD. I never owned it on VHS, until finally, probably about five during the pandemic, I went crazy and started watching a bunch of stuff that I missed, or a bunch of stuff that I hadn't watched since I was a kid, or a bunch of just stuff I'd never seen, like a lot of 80s horror movies I really picked up on during the pandemic. And this is one of the movies that I rewatched during the pandemic, and I've literally seen it like four times since then. So it's like I've been watching it yearly because I really enjoyed it. And yeah. So did you ever watch it as a kid, or you came into it later?
Dude, so I remember, and just rewatching it now, I've seen this movie probably 4 or 5 times, and it's crazy because I've seen it in so many, like, the span between the watchings were so many years apart. Because I remember this, I mean, this obviously came out in 1990, 1991, so I remember watching it on TV, like clips of it, and then I remember like towards high school when we used to go to the variety video store
Mhm.
across the street. I remember seeing this one all the time, and I remember renting the VHS. And then because this thing, I would like, dude, I'm telling you, like these covers, like you were mentioning, like to some, like I don't know, there's something about these hand drawn, simplistic type covers that just kind of draw you in with curiosity instead of kind of just giving you away the movie right on the cover. Um, Again, like Fright Night is a cover that's very iconic, very beautiful, very simplistic, where you kind of get the idea of the film, but not too much. And dude, it's just incredible. But I remember getting the VHS, and then I remember, I think like 10 years later, either watching it again, either they were probably playing it on TV because this is one that, because it's PG-13, there's no nudity. I don't remember any cursing, especially during the rewatch. So it was very TV friendly,
Yeah.
um, which I wonder if they did that on purpose to know that they'll get more airtime and get it more out there because these type of movies are easy to pump out. But
Oh, I
um,
mean, this movie comes out just as it is today. I think it's PG. I don't even know why it's PG-13. I don't remember also any cursing outside of the dead body being all like, sucked in. Um, it's really, and you can show that in a PG movie. So I can't remember right now, but I think there might be a few son of a bitches in there, maybe some shits, but maybe that's why. But I think you could say shit in PG nowadays. So I don't
well,
know. But either way, yeah.
it says frightening scenes, so I think that's probably what it is when they do show like the body to cadaver. Because it does, yeah. I mean, yeah, it says like for some material maybe inappropriate for children under 13, which back then, I mean, especially in the 90s, like it's different. Like I know kids now, they're so desensitized with everything. So I think that's what it is. Like I think it was just like the corpse and like little things like that. But I mean, dude, it's yeah, it's such, like it's one of those video store staples for me. Watching it and then now just rewatching it. I mean, I came across this late last year, used for like, got it for like less than $3, and I was just so excited. I was like, I remember this movie, and especially seeing John Goodman in the back of it with his whole getup. Like he's one character that I always remembered. Like throughout the years, every time I saw the name of this movie, I was like, wasn't John Goodman in this? I could have swore he was like with his little get up and with the poison for the spiders and stuff. But yeah, dude, it definitely, it's a nostalgic film for me. Um, but talking about nostalgia in modern times, and we obviously touched on the whole CGI thing versus practical effects. How how well were the practical effects when they were like barely used throughout the film? Like were you happy with them? Do you think this film holds up in 2025 compared to the modern CGI and all that?
Yeah, yeah, because I think if you reboot this movie nowadays, it's just gonna be all CGI. I wouldn't
Yeah.
want that. I think it's fine the way it is, but I think the practical effects, obviously the spiders were real, so it wasn't really a practical effect. I do know that they did use a lot of for the spiders whenever they used a book or when they used the boot to kill a spider, those were real spiders, so they would put a hole in the book so then when they would slam it, it wouldn't kill the spider. Same thing with John Goodman's boot. There's a scene where he kills the spider, so they would, like shoot the spider, then shoot the boot with the hole, and then cut, and then you shoot like another one where he's stepping on a fake spider, and then it comes up with all the goo and stuff. As far as the bodies go, I think the body in the cadaver in the casket coming home looks great. I do think that you could tell that it's a fake person where that couple is watching Jeopardy and they die, and then they go see them because they wanted to have the effect of the male having a spider coming out of his mouth. So they used a fake, you could see that his face is fake. It's plaster, whatever they used. And the lady next to him dead is real. So you can see, like, seeing them next to each other, you can really see how fake he looks compared to her, but I still think it works. And yeah, I think nowadays it would, if do a practical effect just like it, he would look a lot better, especially with a bigger budget. But other than that guy right there, because he's next to a real person, other than that, I think everything else worked great. I don't think there's that much other than like the dead crow, a couple little things. But other than that, it's real spiders. And then, like you said, like Big Bob at the end, he's fake. But I think it looks great. I think it looks phenomenal.
Yeah, dude. No, I definitely think that that was the way to go. I mean, they hired real, and let me see if I butcher this word, entomologists. Oh, there we go, entomologists, like to ensure that the spider's movement look authentic, and obviously the spider handlers and all that. I mean, and I said it already earlier, like the love and care that went into making this. In this day and age, they wouldn't give two shits about hiring entomologists or anything like that. It's just let's just CGI it. I mean, we've seen it in the remake for Nightmare on Elm Street, for example, where a lot of the stuff is CGI when he's coming out of the wall. It's CGI instead of like the practical, simpler effect of the latex and all that. But not ranting in too much into that. But it's just, yeah, dude, it's incredible that they were able to do that. To me, practical effects are king, and I don't know, maybe in 10 or 15 years where CGI will be, where we could say like, okay, it's there. But to me, I don't know, CGI just doesn't compare, man. I mean, you see it in movies like Jurassic Park, you see it like in ET, like in all these older movies. It's just the practical effects, man. Even sometimes they could look a little cheesy, which it's understandable, but it's still, I'd rather take a little bit of that cheesiness, or like you were mentioning, like his corpse, you could kind of tell it's not real, but I'd rather take that than some CGI spider coming out of his nose, because you obviously see that in Slither certain times, and obviously certain things are CGI, and you're kind of like, ah, like this is great and everything, but I wish there was like less of that. Um, Now, as far as for because you did mention John Goodman and like him stepping on the spider and stuff. So a lot of
Yeah.
his lines, dude, were improvised, which is awesome. Like especially the scene where the lousing the barn routine where he's like spraying them with the poison and everything. Like
Uh,
a lot of that was improvised. I know when he stepped on the spider and he afterwards he's like the dog barks and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm bad." I believe that was improvised, and it's so funny that they just gave him that leeway to just go for it. And I don't know if this day and age they would do that as much, because I don't know. I feel like it's kind of different now that they shoot digital, and you could shoot more because it's digital compared to back then. It's filmed, so it costs money every shot. But I don't know. I definitely appreciate how they did that back then as well, comparing it to the CGI, but also kind of want to throw that in there, the whole improvisation thing.
yeah. Yeah, and also this movie, this movie does come from Disney, right? But what they did is, and this is something I guess worth mentioning, a fun fact, that this was the first movie released by Disney under Hollywood Pictures. There was many more movies after that. They had Hollywood Pictures, they had Buena Vista Pictures, and they had Touchstone Pictures. So
Yeah.
those three, they would use them to be able to make more adult movies. Like Disney actually made movies like Armageddon, The Rock, like all those movies in the '90s, early 2000s, Gone in 60 Seconds. A lot of those Jerry Bruckheimer movies produced were all Disney movies. A lot of people don't know that they started these side studios to be able to do that, and unfortunately they're all gone now. But yeah, I kind of liked when they used to do it like that.
Dude, it was incredible. I mean, dude, you just mentioned two iconic movies. I mean, Armageddon it is in the Criterion collection. Obviously, you'll need the DVD,
So is
but
The Rock.
so The Rock is in the Criterion collection. Are you serious?
On DVD also. Once they
Dude,
released it I have the Blu-ray, and the Blu-ray in the back, what's cool enough is that it features all the special features from the Criterion. It even says this is the features from the Criterion, but it's not a Criterion Blu-ray. It's just a Disney Blu-ray.
dude, see, I didn't know that, and that's incredible. Because I mean, I have The Rock on VHS. I have Armageddon both VHS and Blu-ray, but just dude, they're iconic movies. Now it's cool that you mentioned that about the Disney owning them because you see that in the Blu-ray where it. I thought for a second I was like, did they put the wrong movie on my Blu-ray? Because it starts off with like a Disney cartoon,
Yeah.
like
Right.
promotion, and
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell? I was like, why is the Disney intro coming up? I was like, did I get screwed over or something? Did I get
Mhm.
like a defective disc or something? But that's really cool, man. That's cool to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and for you people that I'm sure a lot of you know this, but I did want to mention since we're talking about the movie that arachno is spider in Greek, and then phobia means fear, so that's where the name arachnophobia comes from.
Dude, which I think most people, I want to say there's a high percentage of people that are arachnophobic.
Yeah.
I think that that's one of the top common fears besides drowning. Um, and what was the other one? Because it's, I mean, I think roaches are up there as well. A lot of people are afraid of roaches because they fly. Like a lot of those big ones
Oh
fly.
yeah, the fly ones. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, those things. I mean, I'm telling you, the ones that I've seen here are like the size of a roll of quarters. Like those fuckers are huge. But between roaches and spiders, they're like the main fear out there for like bugs and creepy crawlers and stuff.
And
Um,
going to work is pretty scary too.
oh yeah, that's another one up there. That drive in traffic. Oh my god.
uh,
Now, dude, talking about arachnophobia, right? Rolls right off the tongue. Um, do you feel that this film would, because obviously the way it ends, right? We have Jeff Daniels. They decide to move back to San Francisco, and they're sitting there in their little apartment or penthouse or whatever, and just trying to finally open that bottle of wine that they were saving throughout the whole film, and about to celebrate without even taking a sip, and then there's an earthquake, a tremor. Um, it almost felt like the ending. Did you feel like they hinted it as they would do another movie, but them having to deal with like earthquakes or something like that, or maybe one of the spiders snuck in one of the boxes?
Well, what I took from the ending was I like the fact that the earthquake they go check on the kids and it drops the bottle and it wastes the bottle, like you said. But
Yeah.
but I do think what I got from that was that whether you live in the big city or you live in a small town, there's always you can't run away from the bad. There's always in the small town you got the spiders, in San Francisco you got the earthquakes, in Florida you got hurricanes, up north you got the freezing cold. Like it's you just got to pick what you love and whatever you could handle the most and live there. So I got a little bit of that. I do think, of course, you could make a sequel and I think you would probably be better off doing it like 2-3 years after this and then have a whole new cast come in. um Maybe I don't want it to be too repetitive, like, oh, let's start again in Venezuela bringing the spider. Maybe they could figure something else out, or use a different creature feature. You could say, use a different phobia, right? The fear of snakes or something, and make it like an anaconda or something. I'm glad there isn't one, but you could definitely have a sequel. But I didn't get a sequel vibe from that ending. I got what I said earlier, more of wherever you go there's going to be problems.
Which is a great message, man, for them to add. Because I thought that the same thing. I thought it was ironic that not only did they not take a sip of the wine, but also like it's spilling out and emptying out the bottle, and it's just like one of those where, I mean, again, like Jeff Daniels' character arc in this film, like from the beginning, where he's very like, even when he's talking to the mover about the wine, where he's like, "Oh no, it's too expensive for anybody to drink," and he goes from that mentality of paralyzed fear of like the tiniest spider and all that to at the end where he just like and he makes that joke where his wife throughout the film she's telling him about like therapy and stuff, and then he makes that joke when he's confronting the main spider, and he's like, oh, therapy this or something. He says something along the lines, but he's like, you're fighting it to the death and stuff. And then you see him at the end where he's just they get there, and instead of sipping that expensive wine, he's like, let me check on our family, let's check on our family first. um, but it was so cool to see that growth. But dude, I kept thinking because they showed the boxes in the background, they showed one laying on the floor, kind of open. And I kept thinking that once they walked away and the wine spilled, that you would see the spider come out because before the nest catches fire, you see like 4 or 5 of them get out of that nest and wander out. And then
Yeah.
afterwards is when that catches fire and all that. So that's what I was thinking. I was like, they escaped because throughout the film, obviously John Goodman's character, he's using poison, it doesn't work on them. And I know at the end he's using one that's almost like an acid. but this was a new batch of spider. Like it wasn't like the one that he used the acid on. So this was more of like these were like bigger. They looked more like the original one. And that's what I was just thinking. I was like, I wonder if those escaped and they somehow hitchhiked in one of the boxes and took like killed the family or something. But no, it's cool to know that
Mhm.
they grew, they went back to where they wanted to be. They can't escape disaster, but that's the disaster they chose. Like they said at the end, where they wanted to be somewhere familiar and all that stuff. Um, do you think it would work if they did I mean, I know you mentioned earlier if they did a modern one, it would be all CGI. But do you think they would do it justice to the original?
Yeah, I mean, you can do it, and I think, like I said, the spiders will probably look fine. And now, in a few years, it might be dated. Um, I don't see why anybody would want to remake this movie because I not only think it's fine the way it was. It wasn't like it was a big IP, a big blockbuster hit. Like, oh, let's remake this movie. It was 22 million budget, made about 53 million worldwide. So it made kind of its money back for the most part, and then. I'm sure with video sales and stuff, it did just fine with
Yeah.
rentals and all that. But yeah, I don't really see the need for it. I don't know if there's an audience for it. Unfortunately, I do see that if they would remake this movie, it would be like a straight to streaming, like Netflix would remake it and just throw it
Yeah.
in there, or whoever else. So yeah, I hope I don't think they would. Would it work? Yeah, it could probably work. I just don't know if you can capture, it's just such a great cast. The chemistry was there. I don't think it would be as successful or be theatrical. So I wouldn't think they would do it. I hope not. Would you want
Yeah.
one?
Uh, I wouldn't want one, man, because I think that they captured everything uh like perfectly in the film. I think that especially like there's certain jokes that you couldn't use now. Like the little neighbor girl, for example, in the beginning where they introduce her and she's kind of like trying to hang out with the kids and stuff. And they're like, oh, Jeff Daniel goes, oh, they're gonna go and go and catch probably fireflies or something. And then they shows it cuts to the scene of the kids running and the girl and the neighbor's like, let's go blow up some bullfrogs. Like
Yeah.
they wouldn't because of PETA and all that stuff. I don't think that joke would fly anymore. So I loved that type of humor and stuff that they had in there because again, it was like you don't actually show it. It's more like a joke, like a growing up in country and stuff like that. Um, so I think that if they did a reboot, it'd be different. I also think the only thing I do know it would succeed a bit, possibly if like it was on Netflix, because again, arachnophobia, like people that fear still exists. It exists and going strong, and they were able to create like something dark and stuff with that to really like scare the shit out of people in a very simplistic way. I think they could pull it off. Um, but it doesn't need it just because watching this film, even though it's like over 30 years old, it doesn't feel outdated. Like the only time that it's like slightly outdated when she's like, "Oh, I've got a fax machine and this and that." But even then, doctors still use faxes to this day because it's the most secure way of getting patient information compared to like email and all that stuff because you can't hack faxes. Um, so I think that's the only thing, but everything else is just, especially the fact that it takes place in a small town, like living in a small town, it really is still like that. Like how it was 30 years ago in that movie, it's still like that today. Exactly. Obviously, people do have cell phones and stuff, but yeah, dude, I don't think it needs it. There's no need for it. I think it's perfect. I think people should revisit it. I mean, it's a cult classic for a reason. Is there any negatives besides I know that scene with the room towards the end where Jeff Daniels walks in and all spiders come out. Besides that particular nitpick, like was there anything else that you felt they could have changed or you didn't like at all?
No, I think I mentioned my two nitpicks of the movie, which is the spider thing, which I wouldn't change it. It's fine. Like it doesn't bother me. It's just I just noticed it, and the music for John Goodman coming in. I think if they just he can stay doing the exact same performance, everything would have stayed the same except for adding that his little theme. I didn't really like it. Other than that, I think the runtime's fine because we have a really good introduction it's fast paced to me. Like I felt like the first 16 minutes flew by in that introduction, and the movie clocks in. I think at what is it, like an hour 49, but really it ends like at what, about 143, 144. So I think it's perfect the way it is. Take out that little piece of music, and I'm good. That's all I would take out of it.
Dude, it really was. And I was so sucked into the film that like I was telling you behind the scenes, like I didn't even notice the music. That's how crazy it was. Like it's like the movie Warfare. I think that's what it's called, the A24 movie that came out recently. They didn't
Yeah.
use music for that film. I don't know if you had a chance to check it out,
Yeah, I
but
saw it.
dude, it's incredible. Like it's incredible how, at least for me, I did not notice one, except in the beginning, the very beginning where they're watching the music video. That's it. That's the only music you have, and everything else there's just they wanted the actual sounds of war and all that stuff. But I was kind of like this situation with this film. I was so sucked in, especially dealing with spiders on a regular basis. I was like, oh, look at these fuckers crawling around, and it's like, yeah, I bet that's what they would do. Um, so I think to me it's kind of, yeah, I don't have anything I didn't like at all. If anything, the only thing I didn't like were certain people in the film, like Dr. Sam, the small town doctor that kind of screws over Jeff Daniels' character. I never liked him. Like and not that in acting wise, I thought he was so good at like creating somebody that you would dislike. But I didn't like him. I didn't like the sheriff. I think the sheriff was kind of like a dick towards Jeff Daniels right off from the beginning, where he's trying to give him a ticket for passing like his parking by a few minutes. Um, but those two characters, I was just like, you guys are assholes. But besides that, yeah, dude, I think for me it was just I think it was a win across the board. Like I couldn't find anything wrong with it.
Yeah, same.
Now I wanted to ask you, so with this film, where like on your top five like creature features type film, where would you say this one ranks? Like if it does even rank, would you say like it ranks in your top five? And if it does, like what place would it have in there?
Yeah, I think I would put it in there. I would have to kind of look back and think about it though. Like I don't I would tell you that it's in my top 5, but I won't name any other movies because of two reasons. I think it would be awesome if sometime in the near future we do a month where we kind of give it to the creature feature films,
Yeah.
possibly, or at least do it like two. And also because I would have to be fair to it and kind of look at the list of the movies I've seen that are considered creature features and where. But I know it would be in my top 5. I just don't know where,
Yeah.
whether it'd be top 3 or in the bottom like 4 or 5. But I would throw it in there. Yeah, because just a lot of fun.
Dude, I think for me, I definitely have to say top three. I can't tell you as far for top three, but it's really up there. After rewatching for like the fourth or fifth time and learning like what went into making this film, just made me fall in love with it more. And I think that's what's cool about this podcast or us talking about like having these discussions, because we could see a movie and be like, oh man, I'm gonna rate this a 2 or a 3. And then when you find out what went into it, you kind of just fall in love with the movie even more. Sometimes it could be the opposite effect as well, and you're like, "Oh, this kind of still sucks even more." But having these discussions, it's just one of those like, damn, it's like you're seeing the movie differently, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't know that they used over 300 live spiders, and I think now rewatching this movie and seeing that those were real spiders for the most part, like 85% of them, it's like a whole different movie now, because now you know that a lot of the acting, a lot of the times when they probably had like certain jump scares and this and that, chances are probably was real. So it was authentic and caught on camera. Now, let's talk about the film, right? Like after rewatching it, after a few times, do you feel like right now after rewatching it this week, it heightened your sense of discomfort with spiders or your arachnophobia, or do you feel the same about spiders?
No, I think I feel the same. I see because I've been watching the movie yearly lately, so it was fresh in my mind. I definitely wanted. I always love to. I always rewatch the movie before we do an episode, as I know you do too, because it's always good to have the movie super fresh in your mind.
Yeah.
But I watched it last year. I think I watched it the year before last, and then 2020 or something like that. But yeah, no, I feel the same. I definitely have some arachnophobia. When I see a spider, um I don't freeze, I don't get scared, because I don't see these really big ones. If I saw one like the size of this thing, I'm gonna get scared. I'm definitely gonna get scared if it's free. If it's in like if I'm in the zoo and I see it inside a, it's contained. I think I'll be fine, of course. But when I have seen them in person like that, but like what you did, I wouldn't even do that. I wouldn't want it on my hand, whether it has poison or not. One that big, you put a couple little, daddy long legs is fine or something, but tarantula, I'll stay away from. So no, I think it's always been the same. I don't think the movie changes it for me, but I still enjoy it, and kind of always feel the same about spiders. What about you?
Dude, I'm gonna be honest, man. Like I've never had a fear of spiders or anything like that, and it's just a more of a discomfort sometimes. But living here and seeing the size of the spiders that I've seen, it's definitely made me uncomfortable. And one thing I'll be honest, I was dreading rewatching this film just because it's like I knew like it was gonna make me paranoid. Being out here like with the freaking like how dense the nature is and all that stuff, especially at night when they kind of come out. Because I see them, dude. I'm telling you, like when I open the back door to let the dogs out and stuff, and I turn on that light and I'll look up and I'll see them all like they all scatter and they all you see all the spiders start going into the crack and like they hide and stuff. And it's crazy. Like they literally were acting like in the film. Obviously those were real too, but um, so long story long, I was dreading rewatching it and talking about it because I knew that the second I rewatch it, I'm gonna be checking my I already checked my shoes and stuff. I've already seen too many real life accounts of like being some poisonous spider or like a scorpion or something in someone's shoe and them like dying from it or getting really sick. But now it's like now I'm really checking everything. Like like I'm going through a thorough check for like the next week or two until I kind of like forget about it again. But I mean, dude, I've sent you pictures. Like you've seen that giant ass spider out my window,
Yeah.
um, which so happened to disappeared. I was looking for it today. I was looking out the window and I was like, wait a minute, he's been living here for a while. Where the hell did he go? So now I'm gonna be paranoid, thinking he's in here somewhere behind my camera or something. But yeah, dude, it was just fuck. What a fun movie, man! Like, what an amazing movie. Um, do you want to jump in and start rating, or is there anything else you want to talk about in the film?
Yeah, let's rate this bastard. I'm ready. I'm ready. I think I'm excited to see. You want to start the rating, or do you want me to go first?
No, dude. I mean, I think I rambled a little bit. Go for it, brother.
All right, so from beginning to end, this movie has a lot. Has great opening sequence, some great camera work with the helicopters, and like you said, the introduction to Jeff Daniels' family, the way the crow lands. We get to see all these spiders. There's some good comedy moments. A really cool finale with Big Bob. I think overall, I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5. I really enjoy this movie. I'm never bored watching it. I don't dread having to watch it. I'm the type of person that I love buying movies because I love rewatching movies, but I also don't like to watch movies too much back to back. Like I like to give it some time to breathe. Like whether it's yearly or maybe I'll wait 4 years to watch a movie. And this movie, like I said, in the last 3 years or so, I've watched it every year, I didn't feel like, oh man, I gotta watch it again because we're doing the podcast. I'm kind of bored of it. No, I was like, hey, we should do this movie. I'm excited to do it because it's gonna be fun. So, solid 4 out of 5 for me.
Dude, hell yeah. And just to let everybody know, as of right now of this recording, the letterbox rating for this film is a 3.4 out of 5 stars. And then obviously they gave it a 4. Um, dude, so everything you said, I mean, I could have not said it better. I think everything was perfect with the film. It was fantastic. It was great. It was immersive. It's one of those I'll never get tired of watching it. Like it's definitely it's kind of like which it's going to be one of the movies we're going to mention in the recommendations on the next section of the podcast. But dude, it's amazing, man. Like I'm so happy I own it. I'm definitely gonna be rewatching a lot. I think once I move back to the city, I'll be able to watch it even more without being paranoid for these giant ass freaking Congo sized spiders. But all overall, I gave it a 4.5 because it was just I couldn't find anything wrong with it. The rewatchability, the acting in it, like I was thoroughly convinced. Again, over 300 live spiders were used, not a single drop of CGI. I mean, man, like you cannot go wrong with that. It's almost the perfect. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't give it a 5 just because it's not Oscar worthy, where it's like one of those like deep type films. But it was up there, man. 4.5 for me. I mean, it had a perfect formula for a creature feature, or as the producers coined it, like a thrill comedy, so to
Yeah.
speak. So,
Mhm.
but yeah. So you gave it 4, I gave it 4.5. Um, Together that knocks out out of the 5 star, we gave it a freaking 8.5. So there we go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and this movie as a creature feature fits perfectly with a lot of movies, and I'm sure you wanted to mention a few. So let's give them some suggestions. Why don't you go ahead and start?
Dude, so I'm gonna bring up three from the list that we have here because we have, let's see, two, three, we have five so far. I'm pretty sure you wrote down a few as well. One of the top ones that's a creature feature for me is The Fly from 1986. And obviously there's a certain theme to that. We have a certain main character, Jeff Goldblum, which was in Jurassic Park. And then he's in this film. And the reason I say that is because obviously Frank Marshall was a part of Jurassic Park, and all that good stuff. So then we have Jeff Goldblum, but this is a body horror meets science gone wrong. And obviously, The Fly, the title speaks for itself. I won't go into spoilers or anything. Fantastic film. I love it. I own it. I own the box set from Scream slash Shout Factory. So it's great. Another one is Lake Placid from 1999. It's like an animal horror classic with humor. So just think about arachnophobia, but with a giant crocodile or alligator. A great film. I also own the Shout slash Scream Factory release for it. Another timeless classic for me, especially when we live in Florida and we have gators and shit everywhere. So that's kind of funny. Now, one thing I do want to say before we continue with the list, I do wish and hope that Shout Scream Factory does a release for Arachnophobia because, again, I mean, I think it would fit perfectly in their library. If they did Lake Placid, I think this would be perfect to add on there. And I could only imagine, even if they do a Blu-ray, like they do a 2K scan or whatever, or a 4K scan on a Blu-ray, I'd be happy with that. But I just want those special features. I want to see like more of like maybe like more of the making, like modern interviews, asking them about how was it like working with the live spiders, like more in depth and stuff, especially after 30 years or something. Because I'm sure it's what like a 30-year anniversary, something crazy like that.
35. Yeah.
30, dude, 35. I'm surprised that they haven't re-released it, but I'm sure eventually it will. But I'm gonna give those two. Um, and then the third one is Tremors from 1990 with Kevin Bacon, another perfect horror comedy creature feature. That one's a ton of fun, takes place in the desert. And again, you got Kevin Bacon. You have a lot of actors that are just crushing it on there. Some known ones, some that are you won't recognize, but still had little impactful roles. But those are going to be my three recommendations that I absolutely loved that would pair good with after this watching this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with I think that pairwise, double feature, you can't go wrong with Lake Placid in this because Lake Placid has a lot of comedy. And it just has the vibe. I think they even took from this a little bit. Tremors came out the same year, so I don't think there was anything there conflicting other than the fact that it's another fun creature feature movie. I'll mention one that has nothing to do like it's a creature feature, but it's very different than this one. It's darker. It's R-rated. I'll go with Mimic, a movie that I
Oh
really
yeah.
love. Guillermo del Toro, the incredible director, directed it. Mira Sorvino's in that. Possible future episode, we'll see. And I'll mention Anaconda too. You know, Anaconda. I want to mention Anaconda mostly because I've never been a big fan of Anaconda, but I think it's it's serviceable. And I just from the trailer, I could tell that this remake is just looks like a lot of fun. Like that's how you remake Anaconda. Like make it a
Yeah.
comedy. You throw Paul Rudd and Jack Black in it, and they're filming about anacondas, and it becomes it's almost like Tropic Thunder. It looks like a Tropic Thunder type, but with anaconda. So I can't wait to see that movie. And so yeah, but let's go back to the original. You could fit it with this one. It's another creature feature. So yeah, I'll go mostly with Mimic, Anaconda, and for sure Tremors and Lake Placid that you mentioned. I think will fit really well with this. The Fly is an amazing movie too. You got movies like Gremlins and Eight-Legged Freaks that could fit with this. Eight-Legged Freaks is more like extremely campy and a little goofy, a little corny in a way, but it's with David Arquette. You could also check that one out if you want to do another spider movie.
Yeah,
So,
man.
and there's a movie I forgot what it's called now, man. But it was a spider movie that came out recently that was pretty good. And I feel bad for not remembering the name though. I forgot what it's called. It's not called Freaks, but anyways, yeah. If you look it up, Spider movies, it literally came out last year. I just forgot the name of the movie, but yeah, that one too.
Dude,
So
what
that's pretty much what I got.
no, those are great options. And one that I want to throw in the mix, I don't know if what's the last time you saw this one? Evolution with David Duchovny, where that meteor
Yeah.
lands and stuff. Um, which was Orlando. What was his last name?
Oh,
Like
yeah, he was
the
funny.
he's funny. He was in The Replacements and he was in a ton of stuff. But he was like he's funny as shit. He's kind of like the sidekick, the friend of David Duchovny in the
Yeah.
movie. But I would say Evolution's another fun one, which is kind of like a creature-ish feature type film, and it's just a lot of comedic relief. You have the actor from American Pie in it, which I'm freaking trying to remember his name.
Yeah, the guy that played Stifler.
Yeah, exactly, Stifler. And guys, you'll get used to this. I'm the worst with names sometimes, so I apologize, but I'm definitely trying to get it get it together and try to write this stuff
His
down.
his name is like Sean William Scott,
Scott.
something
There
like
we
that.
go. Sean
Yeah,
William Scott. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Oh, and
So
by the
that's
way, before I forget, the movie I was talking about from last year is called Sting. It's Sting, and it's about
oh
spiders.
yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's not a bad little movie. So I mentioned that one before I
Yeah.
forget.
So guys, if you want to watch more spiders after Arachnophobia, you have Eight-Legged Freaks, you have Sting, you have a little trifecta there. Obviously, if you want to switch to a different species, you have The Fly. Then you have Lake Placid, Tremors, I mean, Evolution, so coming from outer space. So either they're coming from the ground, from the sky, it doesn't matter. You've got all types of creature features. But this was an absolute blast. And obviously, I want to jump into our quick little sponsor section. Guys, this episode is brought to you by Valoria Video, your home for physical media, horror classics, and everything creepy and crawly. If you use code FACE2MOVIES10 at checkout, you get 10% off your next order. So you stock up while you still can and before the spiders show up and take all the inventory. But yeah, for you guys watching, I'm going to go ahead and pop that up on the screen here. Let me plop it up to the right. So there you go, Valoria Video, Face the Movies 10. Now they're a great small business, amazing. They're on the East Coast. They're actually in South Florida. So if you're on the East Coast, you're going to get your delivery super fast. If you're on the West Coast, you're still going to get them fast, but obviously there's a little bit of a travel difference. But if you do want to get, if you're on the West Coast also, or if Valora Video doesn't have something that you're looking for specifically, don't fret. We also have Monster Mall, which is MAUL, Monster Mall. And if you use code FACE the Movies, you save 10% off used titles, which there's a good chance they might have Arachnophobia used or any Shout, or I've even seen Criterion's on there for sale on great prices, or $1 off new releases or pre-orders. So you have those two options. You have Monster Mall, Face the Movies, and Valoria Video, Face the Movies 10. So go ahead and check them out. Awesome companies, small businesses. We love to support them. They're so supportive about the podcast, my YouTube channel. Great people. Hopefully, we'll be able to have one of them as a guest, one of these days and kind of talk movies with them and stuff. And I mean, who better to have on than like an actual physical media online retail store, right? To be able to kind of shoot the shit and talk about films that we love. So go ahead and check them out. Now, that wraps up Arachnophobia, the movie that proves sometimes it's not the big monsters that get you, it's the ones hiding in your shoes.
Yes, and let us know in the comments. Would you rather fight one giant spider or 100 tiny ones?
Yeah, let us know in the comments, social media. Guys, don't forget, you can follow us on IG. For me, you could follow me at Face the Movies. For Lee, it's Cinema Whiplash. So we have our IGs, our YouTube channels. So make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to both channels. If you're watching this already on YouTube, then you're already on my channel, Face the Movies, unless you're watching it on the playlist on Lee's channel, Cinema Whiplash. Now, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast, which the name there is Friday Night Fright Night, I mean, make sure to follow, subscribe, comment. We try to keep these episodes going every single week. Usually release them Thursday night or Friday early morning, but trying to stay consistent. So every week you're going to have a different movie to talk about, all horror movies, comedy horror, horror, body horror, you name it. We're not discriminating. So we've got everything for you. So a ton of deep dives and all that good stuff.
Yes, and thank you for spending spooky season with us here on Friday Night Fright Night, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, guys, keep the lights low, your bug spray handy, and whatever you do, don't look up, and make sure to check your shoes at all times. Oh, there's and Lee showing us that giant spider. Oh man, I'm gonna have nightmares. Well, guys, love you guys, and see you in the next one.